Hey, how's everyone doing? My name is Tyler, and I'll be showing you to play Alien Attack by Frontline Games using this basic scenario. It's a very simple game that requires 2 or more players to play, and very easy to learn.
Alright, so the first thing we need to do is set up the game. We want to make sure we have a 2-foot by 2-foot playing area to play our game on. This is where we will set up any obstacles we want. Good way to start it with something simple such as a few trees kind of like this. Also, make sure you have at least 2 players playing the game. If you have more than 2 people playing the game, just assign each player to a character control on that character's turns. Now, you will see a diagram in the rulebook that comes with the Alien Attack game, which shows your starting position for your characters, and the exit point that the scouts need to reach in order to win the game. It will look something like this. As you can see, your scout's campsite is in the corner of the playing area, and it doesn't really matter what corner it is, as long as the alien starting point is in the corner across from it. And the exit point from the scouts are in the opposite corner as shown in the diagram. The exit point is 12 inches long starting from the edge of the board, and the aliens spawn within 6 inches from the edge of the board in their assigned corner. The scout's campsite is made up of 3 tents and a campfire. You can make the tents out of small folded pieces of paper kinda like this. Each scout begins the game in front of his own tent. Now we gotta choose a suit of cards to represent each side. For example, scouts could be clubs while aliens are hearts. Personally, I like to assign them by color, so I'm going to assign the scouts to black cards and the aliens to red cards. We need to pull 1 card for each character in the game.
In this case, we need 4 cards for the scouts and 3 cards for the aliens.
Later on, we will be adding 1 more card for the aliens because their flying saucer enters the game on turn 3. But until then, there are only 3 alien characters. Take each card and shuffle them together into a small deck and place it face down the table. This is called your activation deck. Now that the game's all set up, it's time to actually start playing the game. So the very first thing we need to do in the beginning of a turn is pull a card from the activation deck. The assigned suit or color of the card shows whose turn it is to move one of their characters. When it's your card, you can choose any one of your own models that has not yet moved this turn. And the turn is over once all cards in the activation deck have been pulled and reshuffled ready for the next turn. And since the card I pulled first is a black card, and I assigned my scouts to black cards, my scouts go first. So once one of your characters are activated, the first thing we need to know is that each character is given 2 actions per turn which can be used for any of the following. Move, fire a weapon, use an item, or unfreeze a friend. And if you're controlling a flying saucer, you also have the option to spin an action on beaming up a frozen specimen, such as abducting a scout. Everything mentioned costs just 1 action and can be used in any order you want. So let's say I chose to activate Scoutmaster Wiggles first, and since the scout's objective in the game is to reach the exit point, I'm going to start moving him towards the exit point right now. And the cool thing about this game is most of the rules are mentioned on the character cards themselves, so there's hardly a need to go digging in the rulebook for something that you don't remember. As mentioned on Scoutmaster Wiggles' character card, he moves 2 inches plus an additional d6 dice roll. Now, since I rolled a 3, I will add that to my regular 2-inch movement. So I can move my Scoutmaster Wiggles a total of 5 inches. Okay, that was a pretty decent roll, but it's not as far as I wanted to go. But don't forget, I only used a single action on moving, which means I have 1 more action left. I could use this action to try and shoot an alien right now, but if we look at our character card for Scoutmaster Wiggles, we can see he has a flare gun and all the specifics about the weapon such as range and to hit roll. On his weapon, I can see that the range of his weapon is 12 inches, and although we are not allowed to pre-measure, which means measuring for the sake of an action before we choose if we want to do that action, I'm pretty sure the aliens are all out of range. So I'm going to use my second action to move my character closer towards the objective. Okay, now that I'm finished moving my character, it's time to draw another card from the deck to see whose turn it is next. And the red card means it's the alien's turn to go next. Now we get to choose which alien we want to move first, and since no alien has been activated at any time this turn yet, I can choose any of them. I think I'm going to move Chizo first. By D3 it means to roll a D6 dice and follow the template shown under the movement on the character. So rolling a 1 or 2 on a d6 equals a 1, and a 3 or 4 equals a 2, and a 5 or 6 equals a 3. I rolled a 5, and the template shows that a roll of 5 or 6 is a 3. So I would add a 3 to my original 2-inch movement for a total of 5 inches. And since Chizo's weapon has a range of 8, we want to get a little closer before we can try and shoot. So I'm going to use his second action to move again. Okay, now Chizo is done. Now it's time to flip another card. And now, since I have already activated Scoutmaster Wiggles this turn, I can't activate him again until this turn is over. So I have to choose somebody else this time. And I think I'm going to move Ryan, who actually moves exactly the same as Gizor did, and just like everyone else has 2 actions per activation. As you can see, I'm using both actions on all the characters to move right now because nobody is in range to use their weapons yet. This is normal, and it's usually how the first turn of alien attack is like. So let's finish off this turn with moving the remaining characters with both of their actions. Okay, now that the last character has done his turn and there are no more cards in the activation deck, it's time to start a new turn. Shuffle the drawn cards from the activation deck and place them face down the table ready for the next turn. Now let's draw another card from the activation deck to see who goes next. Black card, so it's the scout's turn. Now it's time for some action. I'm gonna have Alex go first this time. I think I'm in range to hit that alien, so I'm gonna use my first action to use my weapon. Alex uses a slingshot as a weapon, and the first thing we need to do while firing a weapon is check if we're in range of the model we're shooting at. And Alex has a 10-inch range on his slingshot as shown in his character card, so let's measure the distance between me and the alien I'm aiming for. We can see that we have more than enough range on our weapon to shoot at him, but now we gotta see if it's a hit or a miss. And all the information we need is on Alex's card, so let's take a look at that. We look under his slingshot on the card and see that it says we need the 2-hit roll of 5 or 6 on a d6 to hit the enemy. So let's roll the hit roll fast. Now, we know that a roll of 5 or 6 on a d6 is a hit, but that doesn't mean the alien is dead just yet. There's one more step to firing a weapon. It says here that if you hit, we need to roll a further d6, and on a roll of 1 through 5, the alien phases. When an alien phases, it just returns to the spot on the board that it began the game on. Now, that will take care of the alien temporarily, but I would rather get rid of my enemies for good. And it says on a roll of 6, the alien becomes knocked out. When a character is knocked out, the model is removed from the board and can no longer be activated, meaning we would remove a red card from the activation deck because that would be one less alien that can be activated in the game. And some scout character cards will say that they melt or even burn the enemy. Though there is a difference in the way the alien is removed from the game, they all have the same effect. Now let's roll a dice and find out what happens for us. Well, while a roll of 1 through 5 does not knock him out, it does at least get him to phase back to where he started, buying us a little more time. So hitting him at least does something good. Let's not forget we still have one more action, but we still can't use it to shoot the same alien because he was phased. But I think I see another one in range. But of course we'll measure anyway, just to be sure, remembering that we have a range of 10 inches. And just as I predicted, we're in range. Let's see if we can get rid of this guy. Well, that's definitely a miss, but it's okay. We still got 3 more scouts who haven't moved yet. So let's draw another card from the activation deck. And it's the scouts again. Let's give Diego some time to shine. We can see on Diego's character card that he uses soda cans as a weapon, and under the 2-hit roll it says to see the rules because soda cans have a special rule. So let's take a look at that real quick. While throwing soda cans, we roll a d20, and on a roll of 17 through 20, the target has been hit, and we place a splash marker that comes with the alien attack game directly over the alien we hit, and any model even partially in range of the marker is hit by the splash. If we roll a 13 through 16, something goes wrong and we don't hit anything at all. And if we roll a 1 through 12, the soda can does not hit the intended target, but deviates in a different direction. The direction it deviates is determined by the deviation template. So let's say we rolled an 11 on the d20. This means the soda can deviates, so we get the deviation template and place it directly behind the model that we're trying to hit. So if Diego was here, and Adar the alien was there, and we rolled an 11 on the d20, we place the deviation template behind the intended target like this. And it deviates in the direction that the 11 on the template is pointing. Now we roll a d6 to find out how far it goes in that direction. So let's say we rolled a 3. That means the soda can really hit 3 inches in the direction that the 11 is pointing and missed the alien we were trying to hit. So let's give it a measure and see where the splash marker would turn out. We place the center of the splash marker in the measured position like this. So it ended up splashing in an area where there are no models at all. But if it were to hit somebody, like say there was an alien standing right here, we would follow the rules shown on the card and roll a d6. On a roll of 1 through 4, the alien phases, and on a roll of 5 through 6, the alien is melted, which does the same thing as knocking out an alien. So let's get back to the game. First off, we need to make sure we're in range, and we see that Diego's weapon has a range of 7 inches. Okay, now let's roll a d20. And on a roll of 17 through 20, as shown in the rulebook, we hit the alien. Next, we place the splash marker on the alien we hit. And we include any alien so much as touching the splash marker, which in this case is only Adar himself. Now let's see what happens to the alien by rolling a d6. And according to Diego's card, the alien has melted. And now we take the alien off the board and remove one of the alien's cards from the activation deck. Well, that takes care of Adar, but let's not forget, we still have one more action to use. And I'm going to use this action to throw another soda can at Bob, that alien right there. And a roll of 13 through 16 is a complete miss with the soda can, so now Diego is done for this turn. Let's draw another card from the activation deck. And it's the alien's turn to go.
Now I'm going to use Bob's weapon Freeze Rifle to try and freeze Scoutmaster Wiggles. Following the basic rules on his card, let's see if we're in range, which for Bob is 10 inches.
Now let's roll a d6. That's a hit. Now let's make that final d6 roll to see what happens to Scoutmaster Wiggles. And according to the card, a roll of 4 through 6 means the scout was frozen.
Uh-oh!
A scout being frozen means he may no longer be activated for the rest of the game or until he is unfrozen by one of his friends. To do that, one of the other scouts have to first be touching Scoutmaster Wiggles' base and then spend an action to unfreeze him. So this is not good for the scouts. And Adar still has another action to move this turn. Let's use it to try and freeze Ryan as well. It's a hit. Now let's see what happens. Well, that means it hit, but nothing happens. So that was the last of Adar's actions, and it's time for a new card to be pulled. So let's go ahead and finish this turn off for the sake of the tutorial so I can show you something important. Now let's shuffle the activation deck and start a new turn. We are now on turn 3, and this means it's time for the Flying Saucer to join the action. Flying Saucer always enters the game on turn 3 and is placed in the alien's entry point as shown in the template from before. And since it's the alien's turn to go, I'm going to activate my Flying Saucer. Now the Flying Saucer gets a base of 8 inches of movement per action, and its weapon has a range of 12 inches. But the Flying Saucer's main priority is to abduct frozen scouts to prevent them from leaving the board. Once 3 scouts have been abducted by the spaceship, the aliens win the game. So the Flying Saucer is a crucial part of the aliens' victory. So let's use the spaceship's first action to bring him close enough to Scoutmaster Wiggles since he is already frozen. Now that we are touching his base, we can use our last action to beam up the Scoutmaster, permanently removing him from the game. And don't forget to remove his card from the activation deck. Now the Flying Saucer is done moving. Okay, so let's get the remaining scouts out of here before they become abducted as well. Now remember, we have a whole 12 inches on this corner of the board to exit from. Now let's finish the turn. Every remaining scout has left the board and the aliens have failed to abduct at least 3 of them, so that means the scouts have won the game.